ALLCITY in the studio. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast on a Rams preview Thursday. Adam Hogue is out at Halas Hall. There he is, Fox 32, MJ's buddy back in the day. Sweet Lou Canellis.
Are we talking Derrick Rose today?
Yes.
I see Nick with the Derrick Rose jersey.
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought we were talking Bears. Maybe we're getting into the Bulls.
No.
I'm rocking the Rose.
Oh, wait, and Greg's wearing one too.
Got Rose on the set with the Bears sleeves.
And Joniak's royalty.
Okay. Well, sure.
I'm not up on his
like,
stage. on his level
Joniak's been
yet.
coming at me a lot lately, so we're going to
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
Rightfully
that's
so.
fair enough. Nicholas Moreano, Greg Braggs in studios. Lou just teed up. Yes, Derrick Rose is retiring. We could start there for a second. I'm happy to just tell everybody that Derrick Rose brought me back to the Bulls. I was so beside myself, disgusted with the way it ended, and there was just a lot of talk in this town.
Weren't buying into the whole Tim Floyd, Bill Cartwright being the next Phil Jackson?
No, I wasn't. and there was a whole narrative in Chicago by some of the media that it was time, and I'm like, let them lose. I'm not betting against Jordan ever, and if they did walk off in the first round, the Eastern Conference Finals, it would have been fine. The legacy was intact. I would have loved to have seen it. I would have bet on him to win in 99, and I would have kept on betting on him to win. So I was gone. They ruined me with that. And then Derrick, BG started it back, but then when Derrick got here, the United Center came back alive, and he was the most humble superstar. Mm-hmm. He shout out, side out the whole way. Like Joe Colley went at him in the Sun Times all the time, and Derrick he would ask him questions every night, and Derrick would look him right in the eye and answer every single question. I had so much respect for how he handled when it got negative here. Derrick was and on the court, he was completely ridiculous. I loved him. I love that you guys are wearing it. His number belongs on the rafters. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Let me jump in. Listen,
Yeah.
I love the kid. And you hit a lot of the reasons why, Mark, but God, man, he brought so much excitement back to the United Center after MJ and the guys left, and after that awful type of basketball we were subjected to for those years following Michael's move to Washington. I just wish he would have played one more game wearing a Bulls uniform.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Before he called it quits. And I was surprised. I actually jumped on social media this morning at 6:30. I saw some of the videos, and I still wasn't buying in. I'm like, did he retire? And then I saw that he had left the game. I'm like, damn, one more time. Just throw the uniform on so the United Center can celebrate you like you deserve because you brought excitement. And being an Englewood kid, that meant so much. I remember watching him at Simeon. I remember before he started Simeon, and people were talking about this kid named Derrick Rose. We are proud Chicagoans of Derrick Rose.
Yep.
I mean, he brought hope, you guys. I think he just brought hope to Bulls basketball. I mean, that for me was Chicago Bulls basketball, watching Derrick Rose do what he did. And he was just different from the point guard position. Being fit, bigger, faster, stronger. That was Derrick Rose. So much excitement, so many good memories. But you just kind of wish that at one point, damn Heat didn't get in the way of everything that the Bulls were doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, the memories he gave the United Center, even after the injuries, the walk-off game-winning 3 against the Heat, or the Cavs, I should say.
Cavs, yeah.
And last time the Bulls were relevant. They were 2-1 in that series.
I'll never let go of the timeout that they called that wasn't a technical foul, but that's for another day. But, yes, congratulations to Derrick Rose and his retirement because, to me, third greatest Bull of all time. And the fact that his number is going to get hung in the rafters with those guys
sooner than later, I hope.
Yeah. It goes to show you that he didn't need to have the resume statistically for everyone to understand who he was as a player. Kind of Gale Sayers-ish in a lot of ways if you want to compare it to Chicago Bears legends.
Well, the Bulls statement on it too, as far as the rafter thing, is like they're saying a ceremony, but they're not like saying they didn't put out like one day his number will be up there. I do wonder if they're going to do right by him.
Has to be.
It has to be, yeah.
I mean, now that we're talking about retired, can we get into a little Bulls discussion from the 90s? I'm kidding. We're here to talk Bears.
And Hogue, by the way, is in the chat shouting you out, Lou.
Where's Hogue? Hogue, I came here for you, not for Carman.
Makes sense.
That's for everybody. But yes. But Adam and I were having a big debate on whether or not his number should be retired. So I'm bummed that he's not here for that discussion because Hogue's on the the worst side of the street on that one. That should be a special. Like, you need to be a Hall of Famer or whatever, which, whatever. He's not here to defend himself, so I'll leave it alone. But like, there's a lot of people out there. He wasn't here long enough. Don't retire his number. Dude, it's what he meant to the city. It's what he meant for the Bulls. He belongs up there, period, end of story. And you can make an argument, too. Greg, you said third greatest Bull. I can't really go all the way, but at his peak, better player, Scotty or Derrick? Derrick won an MVP.
Mm-hmm. Nah, easy now. I think Pippen's one of the top 50 to play the game.
I know. It's a tough
Pippen at his peak was pretty damn good. You forget about
Jordan and Pippen.
Yeah, here's what Bulls fans forget about in Scotty. And I'm not here defending what Scotty's done since this thing has ended and since the Last Dance and some remarks that I don't agree with. And believe me, I saw a lot of what Scotty saw while I was doing the Bulls in the 90s. But Pippen was such a great defender. And he stepped back so 23 could be the man often. So I think sometimes we take Pippen for granted. I'm not sure the Bears, I'm hoping the Bears rattle off 6 titles. The Bulls rattle off 6 titles without a Scottie Pippen, just like obviously 23 needed to be there as well. Right. So,
well, let's hope that Rome and Caleb are the next Jordan and Pippen.
Ooh,
listen
nice
to this stat from Greg Harvey before we transition. Players to win an MVP and Rookie of the Year before turning 23 years old. This is for my guy Greg Harvey. Between the numbs, Bryce Harper, Johnny Bench, Jim Brown, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, Alex Ovechkin,
there you go,
and Brian Trottier from the NHL, and then Trottier, Derrick Rose, NBA.
Good list to be a part of.
Hell of a list. All right. Well, on the Trottier note, let's move over. Let's move over to the Bears for. And I was thinking, how do we start this conversation with Lou? And I'm just going to go right. What's the biggest problem, which I did on social media on Sunday? What's the biggest problem with the Bears right now, Lou?
Well, the obvious is the offensive line, but I think time right now. And for some teams, for some offenses, it takes more time than it does others to fit together, to become cohesive together between play calling, players working together, so many different playmakers, a brand new rookie quarterback. Okay, I think the timing right now has been the Bears' biggest issue. And do I think the Bears' offense will look this bad week 10 as it does week 3? Hell no, it better not. Mm-hmm. Right, then they've made a lot of mistakes. This will get better. It may get really good on Sunday against a bad defensive Rams team. That's offensive line, it's looked awful. It's still the same offensive line, guys.
Yep.
Last year, minus Lucas Patrick, who the entire city couldn't run out of town fast enough,
True.
And he's replaced by Coleman Shelton. So don't tell me that Coleman Shelton, thank you, by the way, for allowing us to use your interview with Coleman Shelton on Fox Sunday. Don't tell me Coleman Shelton is the lone reason behind the offensive line's problems right now. And that offensive line a year ago, and I know you guys follow PFF, was ranked right in the middle in the NFL. It wasn't the league's worst. It wasn't like we went into the offseason saying, oh, my God, the line is awful. We got to make changes. We said, yeah, we could do better on the offensive line, but who would you like, Rome Odunze or John Alt? 80% of the fans, I think, going into the draft would have said, hey, if Odunze's there, you got to take the playmaker. So I think right now, Mark, it's time. Just give it time. Are they running out of time? Can they ill afford the fall to 1-3? Heck yes. So hopefully it changes on Sunday.
Jump on in, Nick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't argue with that there, Lou. I'll say just watching how Shane Waldron's putting some of these playmakers together with the personnel groupings, the play calls themselves, like we're seeing a lot of things that, to me, are just not making common sense. And when you're having shotgun, 11 personnel at the goal line for 3 straight plays, and then have the speed option, it's like, as a play caller, you just want to see Shane put his guys in the best position to make plays. So if you have that with the offensive line issues, then you're going to have the dysfunctional offense that we've seen so far. But like you, I don't think this offense is going to look as bad right now as it is in week 10, because I expect them to get some of those things fixed and addressed by that time.
Were you there yesterday?
I was, yes.
You were there when what did Caleb Williams say? He said communication.
That was a buzzword.
And comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's communicating now to his offensive coordinator. Remember, he's a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't know when it's his place to stand up and say, okay, timeout. I'm a rookie. I'm 3 games in. So he's communicating to the coaches, and he's telling them, I don't feel comfortable if we break the huddle with 10 seconds left and get up to the line of scrimmage with 6 seconds left, because I went back and I looked at the tape, that if I see an alignment that isn't going to agree with the pitch out to DeAndre Swift, that I can change. I haven't done it long enough yet. It's only my 3rd game in the NFL.
Right.
And listening to Shane Waldron today, I think he heard that loud and clear, that I need to simplify things for this rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. And it was incumbent on the coaches to call a time. They had 3 timeouts in that situation. Yes. They can see the look from the sidelines. They should have taken that out of his hands, called the timeout, regroup. It's such a big down on 4th down. I agree with you. At the end of the day, it's going to take time and chemistry, and fans don't want to hear that. But the tell is Tevin Jenkins has not looked great the first few weeks, and we know his talent and ability. So that, to me, is the tell. And the other aspect, we talk about Caleb Williams learning on the fly. Shane Waldron's new. Everybody's saying it's Shane Waldron's fault. Well, if right now the run game and the offensive line are the 2 biggest issues with the team and the offense, who's more to blame for that? Shane Waldron or Ryan Poles and the person that assembled that offensive line? And I love Ryan Poles, but at the end of the day, that's where the buck stops, is with Ryan Poles. So to me, you've got to give this time. The only thing that I will blame any of it on, because I want to give them all time, with the exception of Nate Davis. They don't like Nate Davis. They've shown that with the snaps week 1. Ryan Bates got more snaps than in week 1. They immediately replace him now with Matt Pryor. If you didn't like Nate Davis at camp, you don't like how he doesn't follow your hits philosophy, then you start him week 1. That's the only thing I'm going to blame them on. Don't rely on Nate Davis if you don't believe in him.
You're right. I mean, listen, they paid Nate Davis a lot of money, folks, $30 million. Okay, so you can't give up on your $30 million investment that easily. Nate Davis, you touched on it, Greg. Tevin Jenkins hasn't looked great. Braxton Jones has taken a beating out there. You're wrong. Go talk to people that watch games on a regular basis, scouts, other coaches. Jones may be the most effective player on that offensive line right now. So back off on Braxton Jones. Darnell Wright not healthy. Hey, I think it's time to give Kieran Amagaji a chance. You drafted him in the 3rd round despite not playing since October, despite playing in the Ivy League at Yale, because you saw something in this guy. Now, last week would have been too soon. Didn't get back on the practice field for full practice till, Thursday, Friday?
Yeah.
I know you were out there. I think this is a week where maybe Amagaji starts getting some looks out there. When you put Braxton Jones out at left tackle, you didn't know what kind of return you'd get. Who knows what kind of return you get if Darnell Wright isn't healthy enough to play?
I'm going to wait on this question because I want to get into you've
been. And can I make one more comment about Waldron? Let me say one more thing about Waldron. When Waldron was in Seattle, they didn't use Kenneth Walker as much as many people thought they should have with the Seahawks. Number 1. Number 2, when it came to rushing attempts, if I'm not mistaken, and Nick, you're there every day again, so I lean on you. I think they were 31st in the league out of 32 teams, so they didn't run the football a whole lot, but Waldron was hanging his hat on the development of Geno Smith, and he was the passing game coordinator in L.A. with the Rams and Sean McVay. He wasn't running the football or working on the running game in L.A. So this is an adjustment for Waldron now because you're asking him, hey, listen, I know we went and got this shiny toy named Caleb Williams, number 18, and we got him all these playmakers, and everyone thought, oh, my God, we're going to throw the football 30, 40 times and blow teams out. Now we need you to run the football. Okay, let's switch gears. Now we got to become more of a running football team.
Well, and when Matt Nagy was here, he did not know how to run the ball. It was just not his thing.
No.
And he wasn't going to learn it. So it makes me worried, can Shane figure out what the Bears need to do right now to make things easier for Caleb? Hopefully he can. I want to get in the trenches with you about the Bears in a second here. But first off, let me say hello to one of our fine new sponsors that I can't wait to use. Yep, that's our friends at Blue Chew. There are many things we must not say in reference to this medical product, but this is the good stuff here. You can have all the good things, and listen, Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients from any of the others. Viagra, Cialis, Levitra. It's all the good stuff here. The process is simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com. Takes you to the next level. Blue Chew tablets, they're made in the USA. I know that matters to a lot of people. This is the good stuff prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, by the way, it's all done online. You don't have to go to a doctor's office for this. No awkward conversations like I almost just had right now. There's no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night. You don't need to plan ahead. They're right there for you. Live the dream in the moment. When things get good for you, Blue Chew is there for you. So, listen, shout out to our friends at Blue Chew who are going to take me to the level that perhaps I've never reached before.
You could literally be the poster boy.
This
is your moment.
Yes. I'm excited. This is a new level for me. So, hey, I'm up leveling. Now to you, Nick.
I can't think of a better combination than Blue Chew and Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate this fall weather that we're in right now. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. Easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Great, transparent loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards. Let me highlight a couple of Sunnyside's house of brands. You have High Supply, which offers quality weed that's always available. Buds are expertly grown, lab tested and available in vape carts, vape pens, flour, popcorn, shake, pre-rolls, shorties, and concentrates. You also have good news with the gummies, rechargeable vape pen, and cart, perfect for great moments with the crew. Picking up some Mindy Siegel's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside. You can, too, by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
My guy Herb Howard in the chat shouting out. Lou in the chat shouting out that let's not act like I'm unfamiliar with Blue Chew. You're a funny man, Herb Howard. Can't wait to have you in studio on Monday. All right. Let us move. I mean, Lou, you've been around the Bears for a long time. That's what I want to ask you. I mean, you've been in the trenches. You've spent a lot of time at Halas Hall. The state of the organization now, where it is in 2024, to compare to, let's go back to Ted Phillips. Let's go back to just back in the day, the Bears were considered the cheapest franchise of all time. Like, those days are long gone. Salary cap changed that a lot. But the way you view the organization now versus back then, how has that changed? What can you say?
Far different. I mean, Kevin Warren is a leader. We saw what he did with the Minnesota Vikings, with the Big Ten, and now with the Bears. There is a sense of leadership in that building. And here, I'm a friend of Ted Phillips, but Kevin Warren's and I'll say this about George McCaskey. I think the McCaskies take a bad rap in this city. George McCaskey is a man who allows the people he hires to do their job. Now, maybe at times he's made the wrong hire, but it's not his fault where some things have fallen through, and there's not a bigger Bears fan out there. I've been a season ticket holder since I was 4.5 years old. I was so young, and if you're a season ticket holder watching out there, you can relate. Used to be a time when the postman would bring your season tickets. You had to sign for your season tickets at your door. I'm 4.5. My father-in-law had him at Wrigley Field. My father-in-law, my godfather, had him at Wrigley Field, left him in his will for me. Postman shows up. Again, I'm in my 4s. Postman asks for Lou Canellis. My mom looks at him like, why the heck do you want to talk to my 4-year-old son? Ma'am, he's got to sign for this package. Puts a pen in my hand and literally first autograph I ever signed.
Wow.
Got my season tickets. George McCaskey was the ticket manager for 20 years. All right, so this man has worked his tail off for the family, for the organization. I thought it was a great hire with Kevin Warren. Forget about, I don't want to get into the whole stadium discussion right now because you asked me about Halas Hall. And he went out and hired Ryan Poles, and I think for the most part, all right, you can question the Nate Davis. That's fair, Greg, the Nate Davis move. He's made a lot of good moves out there. Maybe arguably the biggest heist of all time with that trade that brought DJ Moore and Caleb Williams and a whole slew of others to the Bears organization. I think it's an organization that business-wise is looked at in a different light. I think it's an organization that's looked at differently amongst other NFL teams now, and it is going to continue to get better. They need to work out the stadium issue. Personally, I hope it happens on the lakefront. I live across the street. I think Museum Campus needs a makeover. When I bought there 20 years ago, I was promised things that the city still hasn't delivered on. I think traffic needs to be worked out on Lakeshore Drive there. It's all part of the equation. And if you're watching and you're friends of the park and you're going to fight against it and take the Bears to court, then darn it, go open in Arlington Heights. But make a decision so there's a new home in 2028.
Woo. I loved when you were out there in the parking lot doing the stuff that you did at Fox 32 around it. And I've been sitting here, put them in. They're the Chicago Bears. They belong in Chicago. We don't have to have that discussion. I know the chat's going to freak out. We've done it a ton of times. But I'm still hopeful that they get it done. And Kevin that thing was done and gone, and Kevin came in here, and we'll see if he can somehow, some way.
Lou, you were cooking there. I mean, that was pretty good.
Sorry, guys, I'm taking up too much time.
No, I love it.
I love cook.
I'm heated. I get fired up about it.
I'm
a Chicago kid.
That was really good. And to me, I agree. Like, the thing that I agree with you on is a guy like me has been hard on George McCaskey. But
Tell me why.
Because I felt like he had a blind spot to loyalty to people. Yes, he hired the wrong people at times, but then didn't know when to nip it in the bud. If you're friends with
Ted, or are you talking about Pace?
If you're friends with Ted Phillips, that's all due respect to him. But then if you go beyond that, the embarrassment of the when they had the meeting with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy that they were going to keep them, and they're talking about collaboration. They say it 48 times. When it was the failure of those two was staring you in the face, you needed to cut bait at that moment right there. And when Sylvie constantly talks about the circle of suck and how each person kind of rolls over into the next problem, that was your opportunity to cut it right there. And they also did it back with Jay Cutler, where you get rid of Emery, you get rid of Trestman. And I know Cutler had a lot on the books, but you signed him to a third contract. And we've just never, as an organization, have ever found that opportunity to reset with all three. And then this offseason hits. You have an opportunity. You know you're drafting Caleb Williams. And you decide to run it back with Matt Eberflus. I'm rooting for him now. Brian Poles made a decision. I'm Team Poles. But at the end of the day, they had an opportunity to reset with the coach and quarterback, line them up together, and now we're already running into issues, and we're all hoping for the best, but right now bracing for the worst.
Can you when I'm a drop younger than you, so like my formative years, I never had Bears tickets, so Freddie Carman, you did great work with that one. You came a little bit short on. But one of my first games was the opener in '85 against the Buccaneers and on the way to the Super Bowl. But those days, you woke up, 11 o'clock was the Mike Ditka show, 11:30 was the NFL Today, kickoff was at noon. And those days are never coming back, but it was I look around the NFL, and this is not a shot at Flus because like most guys are like Flus, but I see Mike Tomlin, I see Dan Campbell. And I wonder, like, do you think the Bears organization would ever, if they did ultimately move on from Matt, if it went sideways, and I hope it doesn't, I hope they, with all the things, could you ever see them having the temperature to be willing to have a guy like that as the front of your organization who's willing to be, a little more out there than the Johnny conservative? Because
if they think he's the best qualified coach available, absolutely. But I just had this conversation with Kevin Byard, who I talked to on Tuesdays. And he said, because I said, hey, listen, your first year here in Chicago, obviously we had Mike Ditka, who brought Chicago a Super Bowl. He had a fiery attitude. He'd call out players in front of the media. He'd create scenes on the sidelines. We loved him. By the way, we couldn't wait to run him out of town and fire him when things weren't working in the 90s either. He said, I played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. When it didn't work, his whole style didn't work. So when you win, the style works. When you don't win, they can't wait to run you out. Antonio Pierce was a favorite in Vegas last season. This year, he's throwing players under the bus to the media. You think the Raiders are going to have a good season? I just think that if a coach has that type of attitude, and the other thing I always tell people is what they present to the media, we don't know if it's the same thing they are presenting inside those doors, those rooms at Halas Hall. Matt Eberflus is a fiery type guy. I've spent time away from Halas Hall. This guy's a get-in-your-face type guy, but he's incredibly respectful. Dude, they won 3 games in his first year.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They won 7 games last season.
Sure.
They had a 14-game franchise record losing streak, and he never lost the locker room. Nick, you're there every single day. Have you ever heard a player just rip the heck out of their head coach? No, because he treats them respectfully. It's also a different day and time, Mark.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt.
I can see the fiery because last year on our post-game shows, I fired him like 5 or 6 times.
Of course
and
you
then
did.
Then when
That's why we love you. That's why you're doing
Then when we were at the combine, I had a chance to ask him a few questions, and I could feel that maybe he might know that about me because I saw the fire in his eyes, like he was going to jump through the podium at me. I was like, I'm going to go this way.
Dude was a linebacker, man.
He'll get you. He'll get you.
That could be.
But now I'm holding strong on him. Everybody wants me to fire him now, and I'm holding strong. Now we have to be patient. You made the decision with Eberflus. I would have done the Harbaugh route. Fine, whatever. Now, Poles made the decision. You got to dig your feet in the dirt and hold the line.
Well, Lou, you said it feels different with ownership, and obviously we're feeling like it's the same type of issues offensively. Do you feel, having covered the Bears for as long as you have, that this might end up differently, though? Because of the quarterback, because of the playmakers, can this end up different than all those other previous Bears teams where they've gone?
So when you say all the other previous teams, you're talking about the Trubisky, Cutler,
the
Fields, Shane Matthews. I can go on and on.
Yeah, just recent. I mean, do you feel like
absolutely? I'm not ready to give up on this team through 3 games. Jeez, a lot of people are. Guys, slow down. Now, again, if they fought a 1-3, if they lose at home to the Rams on Sunday, that will be a really tough loss. I said to Bayard, man, the team is the city's on the verge of panic right now. Mm-hmm. You guys lose Sunday. You have a Rams team come in that defensively is awful against the pass,
terrible,
giving up $170 plus on on the run. Yep. And is without its 2 best wide receivers and 3 starters on the offensive line. You better win this game. There are no excuses. So I think the best is yet to come is the easiest way to answer you, Nick. I think the best is yet to come. I picked this team 10-7 to get into the playoffs. I'm still living by it. If they fall to 1-3, I think that they may go on a roll. I said it all along. First 10 games of the season are going to be tough with all the new parts on offense. But thankfully that division schedule is loaded up at the end when they're playing their best football, which is what I think they'll be doing.
I got 10 wins too. That bum over there's got 8, and he's rooting for it.
That's not true. I'm 99% certain I said 9.
I think you said 9.
Thank you. I said 9 and 8.
I just wanted to throw you under the bus. For
Mark, I was going to say 8. Jeez.
Well, if I could redo it right now, I might go down to 7.
I know you would. Of course you would. You're the guy that would call your bookie and say, I did not say that. You got it on tape.
Yeah. But Lou's got to get out of here. But before you go, I just want to celebrate you. You've been radio, TV, the Hunt Club, which for those people who remember that in the Gold Coast, that was the place to. If you were a young guy in your 20s, you were hanging out at the Hunt Club, you were living it right. I
know Nick wasn't old enough, Bragg.
You would have been there,
39.
Okay.
I would have been there, okay.
You would have been there. Yes, you would.
Frank was there. Big Frank was there every night.
I mean, it was a scene and a half. And like you just keep going, man. Like, I mean, it's a good 30+ solid year run on restaurant, TV, radio, bars. I mean, truly, one of the most unique resumes in the history of Chicago. I'm not kidding. No, I know it's a little. I'm blowing you up a little bit here, but it's true story.
It's the truth. You're iconic, and it's not blowing smoke.
Please don't. That would make me old.
Well, and this is why I was frustrated because
you got to find that balance.
I had to do a bunch of work before the show, and I know we got to go to a break, but I had to do a bunch of work before the show, so I didn't have an opportunity to ask you this. So I'll just ask you on the air. What advice would you give to anyone, whether it's me and Nick on the set or people that are watching that are aspiring to cover sports? Because I know how much you ingratiated yourself with that 90s Bulls team and like building player relationships and learning how to cover the team on a professional level and understanding some things behind the scenes as well.
What a great question. And you know what, Greg? I did an interview yesterday with a young man named Connor. I was on Glenbrook South's high school radio station, and he asked me that exact question. And when it comes to interviewing today's athlete or the 90s, when I was interviewing the Bulls on the sidelines and going in the locker room, traveling with the team on the team plane, on the team bus, staying with the team, treat them like you would expect to be treated. Respect their personal life like you would want someone to respect your personal life. I'm not out to be Johnny Reporter and break TMZ news on Chicago sports or on Fox 32 Chicago. That's not my role. My role is to talk sports. So I had the most incredible respect for the players that I interviewed. Jordan in the 90s, Brian Urlacher when he did the show with me on Fox 32 for a couple of years, who was a personal friend. The reason he did the show was because he knew that he could trust me. So building trust with today's athlete, I think, is so incredibly important. Unfortunately, Nick, because he deals with it every day, and Hogue, who's out there, we don't have access to the players today like we did back then. But still, you have developed relationships with Cole Kmet, who I think is one of the greatest guys of all time, who's a Chicago kid, okay, who I am the biggest fan of, who, by the way, came and had dinner with me and his family and his girlfriend at Avli at my restaurant. So I'll always love him for that. But you guys are doing a great job of building relationships. Here's what in final I'll say. I am the luckiest man in the world, right? I'm 60, right? I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Oak Lawn. I went to Oak Lawn High School and Loyola University. I'm so lucky because I never had to go to a small market to build my career. And I'm doing it in my hometown with my friends. Your audience, they are my friends. They are my peeps. I go to Palermo's on the south side, 95th and Cicero, and it's a kumbaya.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like the prodigal sons come home. That's the biggest thing for me. I don't want to go to New York. I worked for ESPN for 17 years. I didn't want to live in Bristol, Connecticut, so I did play-by-play college hoops. You guys are doing it in the greatest sports town in America. I can't wait to get up and talk sports. I'm talking about the Bears, and you're paying me to do it. I'm stealing. I should be thrown in jail. I would pay for I do pay for season tickets, by the way. I would pay to go to the games. I would pay you guys to sit on this set and talk. So I'm the luckiest guy now, blessed with a 6-year-old daughter, and I'm going to live till I'm 100 so I can be with her as long as possible. So I wake up every day smiling. Does it piss me off when the Bears lose like they did on Sunday? Hell yeah, if you watch me on Fox, you can see it in my eyes. I'm biting my tongue because I'm on TV and I can't say the way I really feel or else I'll end up losing the license for Fox. But I'm the happiest guy in the world, the luckiest guy in the world, and I love talking. I love what you guys are doing because you guys are hitting it with the Chicago sports fans.
Shout out to old dads,
means
too.
a lot.
The older generation, Dad. Let's go. When you have all the maturity, then you get to raise them.
I'm not old. I'm not old.
Older.
Boy or girl? I got a 6-year-old daughter.
Today's 60 is the old 40.
I got a 6-year-old daughter.
6-year-old.
Boy or girl?
I have a 6-year-old daughter.
28.
I drive her to school every morning. Best 15 minutes of my life because I'm not able to have dinner with her at night because I'm at Fox. And today we got into a story about it helps her confidence when she goes to school with her nails painted. Great.
All right, there it is. All right, Lou, have a great rest of your day. Appreciate
I love you
being
guys.
here.
Thanks.
Come on back.
Pleasure.
Door's always open.
I'm telling you, only because you guys only allowed me to come on a Thursday. How many times have we kicked this date down the line? I felt like we've been kicking the can down.
You can have Mark
forever.
Carman's job anytime you're ready.
There's
let us
no
know.
one better than Carman. I saw him at Sunda in the West Loop a couple of Fridays ago, holding court. What was it? He was celebrating a family event.
It was
and this guy is shoving food down in his face, just holding court.
50th birthday party for my cousin Miriam. Shout out Miriam. That was a good time. Lou's just hanging out with. He had a table of 40 over there. I don't know what was going on. The Canellis family friends that was real
big.
Actually, my old roommate, who I owned Hunt Club with, it was his 60th birthday.
There it was. It was a big crew. All right, Hogue's coming up from Halas Hall. Let me tell you, along with you, Gregory, as we flip the set here, on our friends at ComEd. Lou, thanks again. Shout out to you, ComEd. It's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it. Gregory, I know you're ready to tell us more.
You bet your sweet bippy I'm ready to tell you more. The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So what should business owners do, Greg?
They should go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
Yes, I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come, you sweet bippy.
Check out Game Time after you check out ComEd, because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Hey, the White Sox still haven't gotten the record yet. This is a good time to go check them out. And you use Game Time to go get your tickets. And I love Game Time because of, well, a couple different reasons. They have last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area, and views from all seats in the venue. So that's a nice feature that they have there. They also have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and it just takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, concert tickets, everything with Game Time. So download the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
We're having a slight Hoagie Cat not hearing us technical situation that we're working on fixing right now. Don't worry, Greg. Let's stay positive. We can just celebrate the fact.
Now what do we do?
Well, I mean, we do have to talk about the Rams at some point,
Right?
That's what this whole...
Just get Lou back in here. That was great.
Yeah, Lou was awesome.
We could have gone 3 hours with Lou.
He had a lot to say.
Yeah,
I know we went over on that, but I'm glad we got that last one in, because like some of that stuff for me.
It's the first time anyone's ever said to you, "Great question."
Maybe it could be. That could be. And hey,
Greg
if it was, then I'm glad, because that was the right person to ask it to.
Yeah, no, I mean,
bunch of advice. Yep.
And when he was talking, I was like, I felt like it could have been coming out of your mouth as far as the
the passion for it. And he's right. I mean,
yeah.
And that's just such a refreshing perspective to carry, because it is the truth at the end of the day. And Nick, you talk about this all the time. Like, we're very lucky, me and you, like, to get into this industry in Chicago where we grew up. Like a lot of people like Mark, had to grind their way through Texas and Missouri and everywhere else to find their way to the city that we love. So I don't take that for granted one day in my life. And so that was refreshing perspective to hear from one of the legends of the industry.
Another legend joining us now, right? From Halas Hall. Technical difficulties. We have them, and then we just lose them. They just go away because we're that good at our systems here. What's up, Adam Hogue, live at Halas Hall?
What's up, guys? That was awesome having Lou in there. Awesome conversation. Good perspective. I like that.
Yeah, taking a little, and I said to myself for the record at the start of this year, don't overreact to the quarterback or anything else early in the year. And of course, I kind of failed that, but that's all right. A lot of news coming out of Halas here, Hogue. Where do you want to start today? Why don't you tee yourself up here? I know your guy Richard Hightower was up there, and there's also some, we got former Bears coming back. Where do you want to start?
First of all, don't pause like that ever again, because I almost had another heart attack thinking I couldn't hear you. Yes, so let's start with the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. I mean, I think none of us really want to talk about that goal line sequence anymore, but this is sort of the byproduct of the OC not talking till Thursday. Look, here's what's supposed to have happened in that situation. We all hate the shotgun runs. We've been talking about that. But, the reasoning for the shotgun runs, or at least lining up in shotgun, theoretically makes sense. So the idea is that you're going to present the threat of the quarterback running with the football. And so you got to have a defender then worry about that. And I get that. That's true. That's a real thing. That probably made more sense with the quarterback they used to have here. And Caleb certainly can run. I don't know that anybody really wants him to run, including Caleb himself. But you do stretch out the defense. You do make them worry about it a little bit. So, but if you're going to run, if you're going to have that with your whole goal then is to present that to them. Well, when then they line up in a formation where they are actually worried about Caleb running, don't run a speed option into that front, right? So now we've already sort of covered that, and we've talked about how Caleb had the ability to check there and ultimately didn't feel like he had enough time because they broke the huddle late. And Waldron sort of took responsibility for that today, saying that starts with me. He didn't go into the details of like, I got to get the call in faster or whatever it was. But whatever the breakdown was that they came out of the huddle so late, I got the feeling from Flus Monday that he still thought Caleb had enough time to make the check. Obviously, that didn't happen. And with 3 timeouts in your pocket, to me, I'm just like, burn a timeout. It's 4th and goal. It's too big of a play in this moment. You got to call timeout, make sure you're in the right spot. So I think that's sort of the last diagnosis we need on all of that. But Waldron did take some accountability and at least explained why they run out of the gun so much.
Adam, really quickly, obviously being at Waldron's press conference, like how would you say when he's being questioned on his play calls and why things didn't work, how do you think he answered them just from his tone of voice and things like that? How would you kind of describe that from Waldron?
Well, I don't know if you feel the same way, Nick, but I feel like with Shane Waldron, for whatever reason, I have to go back and listen to this guy 3 times. There's so many words. There's so much like sort of beating around the bush. Even sitting there in his press conference today, I'm like, man, this answer could be like 10% of what it actually is. So you got to kind of, but I do think he does get around to answering it eventually. Or, sometimes answers it early and then rambles on about, say, like, whatever it is. I just, like, I was literally walking over to the practice field and back listening to the press conference for a 3rd time to prepare for this interview, to like, really try to parse down what he said. So I do think there is accountability in there. I thought it was a little – there's the other thing I should bring up. So he started and ended his press conference by talking about the Bears Leadership Council and giving them all the praise for – how they handled and communicated what happened Sunday, coming in Monday. Now that includes Cole Kmet, Mercedes Lewis, DJ Moore, and Caleb Williams, your 4 offensive captains. And he's saying the communication is great. So I hope that's the case. I hope there's an open line of communication right now from the players to the coaches to voice their frustrations. The other thing I wanted to bounce off of you guys that Waldron brought up, Khalil Herbert's role on this team, per Waldron, is to be the goal line running back and short yardage running back. Your thoughts?
I have a little bit of an issue with that because at the end of the day, you needed to recognize what Roschon Johnson was doing in that Colts game. And when you get down to the goal line and Caleb and Roschon are your guys that got you there, and you had 4 opportunities, one of them needed to go to Caleb and or Roschon Johnson, and to not give either an opportunity as they got you the hard work to get you there. I do have an issue with that. So, and then it's also a tell, right, Adam? Like you're saying he's your goal line guy. Well, then you put him out there. You're kind of, showing your hand a little bit.
Yeah. Really quick. I mean, I like Herbert over Swift in that situation, but I don't like Herbert over Roschon Johnson in a goal line situation when going downhill. And I completely agree with you, Greg. Like, we saw what Roschon was doing under center. Well, they lined up in shotgun, but still, the downhill that Roschon Johnson runs at, I just like that better in the goal line situation.
The whole thing doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Roschon Johnson is your short yardage back. That's confusing as hell. If you want to make an argument that your best running back, all-purpose back at this point in time is Khalil Herbert because he understands space and how to get himself free in ways that are very unique, and it's why he led the league at 5.7 yards per carry a couple of seasons ago, and maybe you just want to, again, punt on a miss and make DeAndre Swift sort of a change of pace back, that'd be fine with me. But the whole concept that he's your short yardage back makes no sense. I'll give you another thing that doesn't make sense to me. Can Doug Kramer play football, Hogue? Because He's been on this roster for a long time. Coleman Shelton is getting run over by linebackers.
Carm, I'm going to stop you. Think about the own answer to your question.
You want me to answer, can Doug Kramer play football?
Well, they're already answering that question. Does he ever play?
Well, then why is he – that's why I'm asking you. Then why is he on the roster? What's the point?
Because they need a center to bat in an emergency situation right now with who's available because Ryan Bates is hurt. Somebody needs to do it. He is not an option to start.
I'm going to Hogue face. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Then if you don't think if he's only good enough in case of emergency break glass, then get somebody that you have a higher ceiling for and try him there. Nobody is thinking that Coleman Shelton is the long-term answer here.
This kind of looks like when we're watching Nick when you're at the games.
I want to see him. I want to see him play. You've kept him around for some reason. I think no. Okay, Nick doesn't want to see it. Let me see him. It can't be worse. It cannot be worse. How's that?
That was good resting Hogue body. I don't know. Anyway, going back to the leadership committee thing, that was certainly something I wanted to touch on, and I found that to be interesting too. And when you talk about Caleb Williams yesterday, talking about I have to go about the right way of communication when I come to the sidelines. So there's all this talk about communication. Now you hear about the leadership committee having a conversation with Shane. Do you think after a couple weeks now the players are starting to step in and say, all right, we understand what you're trying to do, but this is what needs to be done?
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, when things aren't going well, I'd much rather there be open lines of communication than everybody just sort of passive aggressively, speaking through the media or whatever. And I don't think we've had a ton of that yet. Maybe a little here and there, but really not a lot. And it is still early. One thing I liked hearing today was we were talking to Chris Morgan, the Bears offensive line coach, and Mark Gordy asked him very directly, like, all the blame's kind of going on the O-line right now. Do you think that's fair? And Chris Morgan was like, yeah, we need to be a lot better. So, yeah, of course it's fair. There is, I think, a level of accountability there. Another thing I wanted to get in here when it comes to getting the running game going, which I think we can all agree has to. This is not sustainable for Caleb if they can't run the football. I asked Chad Morton today, who we know loves Velus Jones. We saw that on Hard Knocks, him fighting for Velus to be on this team. And I asked him, it would seem like right now, since you can't get anything going in the running game, very tempting to want to put Velus out there to see if it sparks anything. But how do you weigh that against now there's another guy in the rotation kind of complicating things? Because they seem to already be having a problem with the rotation and who to put in what right role. Because I'm going back to the Khalil Herbert thing. I thought the whole point of letting David Montgomery go was because this guy led the league in yards per carry a couple years ago. So now he's your short yardage back. There's these things are not adding up. So they're already kind of struggling with the three guys they have, figuring out the right roles. Adding another guy in there just seems to complicate it. On the flip side, maybe it leads to, an enormous 50-yard run at some point because he's got that home run ability.
What do you say?
Well, I guess that would be a good thing for me to do, is to share what his answer was. I'm
on the edge of my seat.
No, I was kind of summarizing what he said. Was he immediately pointed to the rotation and just like that he had basically admitted that putting another guy in there just kind of adds to the way he put it is there's one football. There's not enough footballs to go around right now. And that is a tough thing as a coach. Like, you have a guy on the bench who maybe can spark you, but that's just going to maybe create even more of an issue if Khalil Herbert's unhappy he's not getting the ball right now. Because I've never met a player who doesn't want to play more, right? And so That's a very natural thing. Now we're going to add another running back to this whole thing. So I get it, but I don't know. Do you guys want to see Velus play on Sunday?
He just had to kick that
right here.
He just had to take that kickoff and kick it back to the other team, or else he would be active
for sure
on the roster week to week, and then you could sprinkle him in. But now, because he doesn't have a role on special teams, they can't make him active strictly as a running back.
Very good point.
Just forget about that play. Take.
We can't, Gar.
He had too many chances.
Not allowed to forget it.
Hogue, do you have to go, or can you sit through a quick break for a couple more questions?
I can do. Yeah, that's fine. I got to because there's a couple more things on from Hightower I want to share.
Exactly. All right. So before we get to the Hightower part, if you are in the market for a bigger vehicle, and you're looking to find savings to match your desires, go to our friends at Ray Chevrolet. Do that right now. It is truck and SUV month. Head in to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models at new low prices. Did you hear that? New low prices. Right now, you can take $3,000 up to $12,000 off MSRP on most of the new Chevy models, or you can cruise your way out with one of their 125 vehicles that are priced under $20,000. And you know our friends at Ray Chevy are the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. You're going to be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Shop truck and SUVs all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since
1963.
Say it with enthusiasm. Together, let's drive.
1963.
Thank you.
That's enough enthusiasm. Hey, beginning October 1st, everybody, the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, they'll have a new home. Introducing the Chicago Sports Network, CHSN. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first, so visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long.
All right, back out to Hogue at Halas Hall. New practice squad member, new old is back. Our guy Travis Bell is back on the practice squad, but it's just a little news and notes there for you. But Adam, I know Richard Hightower was talking today, and I know that's your favorite part of the week, and I know that the Bears jumped off sides, and I know that Hightower took accountability. So why don't you take us through that moment of the press conference?
Yeah, this was one of those weeks where I had to run back from the locker room to make sure I got into the special teams press conference to ask that question. Because I was really, I wanted to know even more from forget if it was a good call or not, because we kind of broke that down in my ODK the other day, what the actual rule was, like what you're allowed to do as the center. And then what I appreciated from I'm going to share what his answer was, because he didn't really answer that at first. I did get a little bit more clarification later that I'll share with you on the actual rule. But what I liked about his answer was he's like, well, regardless of whatever gamesmanship they're doing, we're coaching them to key in on the bottom of the football. Okay, so if you think about the snapper, pretend there's a ball in my hand, and he lifts it up like this. Okay, so that nose of the ball, and you could see it on film, it did come up. When he raised his head like this, the ball also came up. They teach them to key in on the bottom of the ball, because the bottom of the ball is still glued to the ground, even if the nose comes up. So that's their coaching point. And I like that, as a coach, he's like, well, regardless of what the other team's doing, we got to do this. And we got to focus in on this so we avoid any type of situations where maybe the refs don't make the right call or they miss something. We at least don't jump off sides. And then he went into how bad he felt for Daniel Hardy, because Daniel Hardy's been playing awesome. He's been a great addition to special teams on pretty much every phase. And that was just an awful moment in a key part of the game that led to the Colts' second touchdown. That was a huge play in the game. Now, so this is where I was a little wrong, I think, and this is sort of subjective, but this was I felt like watching the ODK that it wasn't necessarily a sudden movement, but I think by the letter of the law, and you can go up and look up the rule yourself. I mean, any type of sudden movement, like, so you're allowed to bring your head up, but if it's like a jerk like that and it's a sudden movement, then technically that should be a penalty on the offense. So definitely subjective. I'm not surprised they didn't call it, but I think it definitely could have been called. I know that's why this has sort of been split 50-50 on people thinking it was an offensive penalty versus a defensive penalty. The bottom line is you can't jump off sides. I think that's probably what they're coaching inside this building. Key in on the bottom of the ball. Don't have a moment like that. Don't put it in the ref's hands, and you can avoid a situation like that.
I think Patrick Manley was praising the center, on Twitter for that. Like, hey, that's a veteran move right there. And obviously Daniel Hardy's a young player, but go ahead.
Good follow up too on that note from Pat Finley, who basically asked that question. He's like, are some centers better, some snappers better than others? And Hightower was like, yeah, definitely. And then I also like because Pat was like, does that get coached up actually? And Hightower's answer to that was, well, I'm never going to put our players in a position where I can't hold them accountable.
Fair enough. All right. On your way out here, Hogan, I know you were jumping back and forth there. So anything come out of that locker room that you can share right now? I know we're going to have some stuff for pregame on Sunday.
Yeah, so I talked to Jack Sanborn, a little teaser on that. I just want to, we've talked to him about his role before, but it is interesting, only 8 defensive snaps, and good things keep happening when he's on the field. So I talked to him a little bit about that. We're going to save that little one-on-one interview for the pregame show, so make sure you tune into that on Sunday at 11 a.m. We'll have that conversation for you. Mercedes Lewis can set an NFL record for games. I forget if it's game played or game started. For the tight end position on Sunday. So he spoke to the media today. And then Rome Odunze also was in the locker room talking. And, I feel like we're at the point where that knee injury is probably not a big deal, knock on wood. And he's kind of gotten past that scare and obviously took a big step forward with a breakout game the other day, but I feel like both he and Caleb Williams still feel like there's missed opportunities out there. He did have 11 targets, 6 catches on 11 targets, so I'm sure that they want to bring that number a little closer together, make it look more like Cole Kmet's 10 catches on 11 targets. So we'll see if they can sort of make that little improvement this week to what was already a pretty good game between those two guys, but should only get better as these weeks go along.
All right, Adam, give us your 60-second preview to Bears-Rams and what your expectation is going into this game. Do you consider it a must-win?
Can I after that still share my test on how you should retire a number?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you may. You can do whatever you want.
Thank you. That was a rhetorical question.
I was waiting for the end to scream at him, but go ahead.
It was more a reminder to Carb. What I'm worried about in this game is just how well coached the Rams are. I don't think this is going to be a really on paper. I think it qualifies as another game. And Cole said this on the 85 the other day that they felt like against the Colts they had the better roster. And I think with the injuries the Rams have right now, you can make that argument pretty easily again that should be the case. And that's probably why the Bears are favored in this football game. At least they were the last time I checked. But there's just they're going to be so well coached, and Matthew Stafford is not going to make the type of mistakes or silly incompletions that Anthony Richardson did last week. So as good as the defense is playing, I feel like there's going to be like a zero tolerance penalty policy until this offense starts playing better. They just really can't afford to have anything go wrong at any given moment, and Stafford's not going to. I'll be surprised. This is going to be a hard game to win the turnover margin is basically what I'm trying to say. And that's obviously sort of the key to victory. We've seen it so far this season. I've not made my pick. I have to by the time my newsletter comes out tomorrow morning to CHGO Diehards. But this is a really tough one to call right now on Thursday afternoon.
7 out of 10 at the NFL Network took the Rams, and that's despite the fact that the Rams are to this point in the season, have been straight awful defensively. So there's a lot of people picking the Rams this week, which adds on to my confidence on picking the Bears.
Well, and when you talk about coaching, McVay versus Eberflus, Justin Fields did a podcast. I don't know if you saw what he said, but when he was asked about the coaching staff between the Bears and the Steelers, he said, it's not close.
I'm sure it isn't. All right. Hogue, why don't you pull a me and give your asinine reasons, which is not pulling at me because my brilliant reasons are brilliant, as to why Derrick Rose's number should not hang at the United Center for all of time. Thank you.
Well, for the record, this is the second time in this show that you have misrepresented my feelings on this. Going back to the start of the show when I wasn't even on there to defend myself. My only point is that
you did say that.
I did say at that point that this is wrong because you're not on the show to defend yourself. At least
he acknowledged that while he threw you under the bus.
Yeah. I want that on the record.
My point is that this is just a little bit more nuanced. I guess I'm taking the Carm Devin Hester argument here, but for better reasons. And that is, okay, take the name out of it. Take just a blind resume situation, okay? A player played 3 full seasons for an organization and won 3 playoff series. I may have that wrong unless I missed one, but I looked this up this morning. I'm pretty sure it's 3 playoff series they won with Derrick Rose, okay? Did win Rookie of the Year, did win MVP, 3-time All-Star, get all that. But it was 3 healthy full seasons and 3 playoff series. No championships. If Derrick Rose wasn't from Chicago, that person doesn't get their jersey retired, like ever, in any organization. That's my only point. Now, I'm willing to listen to the nuance and the fact that he is from Chicago and that he is one of our own, and that certainly plays into this equation. I love Derrick Rose as much as anyone. I was so excited when they drafted him. It's still the most gut-wrenching player and topic to talk about with how it ended. I put in the comments earlier when Lou was on with you guys that I 1,000% agree that I wish he had been able to play at least one more game with the Bulls jersey on, because I feel like everybody in the city needed that closure. I know I definitely did. Now, that being said, here's my test, regardless of who we're talking about, on who should get their numbers retired. Okay, it's 3 questions. So you go down outside right now, outside your studio, down to Madison. You stop 10 people on the street, okay? And you ask them 3 questions. 1, have you lived in the city of Chicago for at least 10 years? Okay, if the answer is no, you go on to the next person. Okay, goodbye. We don't need to ask you. If they say yes, okay, the follow-up question is, do you like sports? If they say no, okay, again, on to the next person. Not everybody knows sports. That's fine. Okay, so we're trying to target a demographic of somebody that knows the city and likes sports. Okay, so you find 10 people. If we're going to retire somebody's number, those 10 people that you ask should be 10 for 10, not 9 for 10, 10 for 10. What number did X player wear? That's simple. And this brings me back to Mark Burley, because I bet you if you did that with 10 people in the streets of Chicago, they would not get his number correct.
That is the stupidest barometer of figuring out if a player's number should be retired.
Why?
It's just
because we're
stupid.
trying to.
Everybody will know Derrick Rose's number. It's more recognizable. It's number 1.
The point is that it's a number that transcends sports, that actually fit the culture of the city, that everybody knows. That it looks weird if another player would ever wear it because of how legendary that player was for the organization. And that's where I'm willing to meet you, that maybe Derrick Rose's number should be retired. Because he probably – but it's got to be completely unanimous. We have a number retirement epidemic in this – basically in sports all over the place. The fact that the Bears have so many that they stopped doing it, and now we have somebody like Brian Urlacher who definitely fits all that criteria I just threw out there, whose number's not retired.
Let me just say this. I am shockingly in appreciation. Well, I think he should just be retired, period. But the way Hogue has nuanced this – I do appreciate because
I don't. It was stupid.
Well, but it's listen. like you're saying, because he's from Chicago, should that matter? But the fact of the matter is he is from Chicago, and he did get introduced from Chicago, and he requested it. He did go, if people remember, for 1 year and played at Memphis. Most people get announced where they went to college. He wanted to be announced from Chicago because Simeon meant a whole lot more to him than his 1 year in college at Memphis, which, by the way, was a phenomenal year of playing, and he went back and played there, and Memphis means a ton to him. So it's not just a slight on Memphis, it's how much Chicago means. Aside from that, you are right, Hogue. He only won 3 playoff series. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not going to knock the guy for losing to the Celtics his first year when his first game in the playoffs was in one of the greatest games you could ever have in the history of the NBA as a rookie, and then he took that series to 7 and lost to a phenomenal.
Well, how many playoff series did Gale Sayers win? How many playoff? It doesn't. How many playoff games did Gale Sayers win?
Okay, stop. Because I'm already seeing this. Okay, he won MVP. Okay, so we're gonna give every MVP automatically gets their numbers retired. Okay, rookie, like that comment up right here, rookie of the year and MVP. Playoff success, same franchise deserves. Okay, so is Chris Bryant get his number retired at Wrigley Field?
And that's a fair point. That's
World Series champion.
That's a fair point. It deserves consideration. He probably doesn't get his number retired. To your point, baseball is a little different than basketball. If we're being fair to the conversation.
That's why I know my test sounds a little silly, but the whole point is if we're retiring numbers, it should be somebody at legendary status that everybody knows that number, that it would look weird if anybody else wore it. Nobody shouldn't touch it. And that's why,
I'm just saying there's cause for unique circumstances. And Gale Sayers got into the Hall of Fame, even if he didn't get to finish out his career, because everyone understood just how dynamic he was. And if not for this to happen to him, he would have been maybe the greatest running back in NFL history. And Derrick Rose, even though his career was cut even shorter than what Gale Sayers got to, from a accomplishment standpoint, everybody that played the game, not just fans, but people that played the game, everybody acknowledges just how special Derrick Rose is. And when you acknowledge the fact that he is from Chicago, you don't, they should retire his number. And yes, you can say that it's a unique circumstance, but it's a deserved one.
Right. If you experience Rose, A, watching him on the court, B, going to the United Center, C, the Chicago part, D, throw in the Michael part of it, just the way he brought the Bulls back, man. It was like there was a strike. It was a
resurgence back to Bulls basketball.
That place was a ghost town. And
I get all that. But the danger of that is where we are in Chicago sports right now, where we're just lowering the bar. It's like because everything has been so bad for so long, and this one guy made it exciting for 3 years. Okay, let's say 3.5. That's what I just hate about that. And that's how you end up in situations where you win a championship and suddenly 3 numbers from one team are retired. And then years later, you actually become a good franchise again. And you're like, wait a minute, all these, who are all these guys that have their numbers retired from 50 years ago? I mean, that's how you get, that's why I'm just when it comes to, I'm all for Ring of Honors. Ring of Honor should be a thing that every team has. They're like museums and that. And that's what a Hall of Fame is. That's why I honestly think getting your number retired is higher than that. You're talking about no one can touch your number ever again. It should be rarefied air. That should be 23. Obviously, no one should touch that number. And I just think we're lowering the bar for some of these number retirements. And I don't necessarily agree with it. And I'm putting my own baseball team in that conversation. Paul Konerko is my favorite player ever. And I will have, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I think that's a more nuanced conversation than just automatically putting 14 in there because he was the captain on a World Series championship.
We're going to let you go here because I want to get into some Rams talk in the last 5 minutes of the show. But look, I'm not asking them to retire Sean Dunston's number. It was my favorite Cub as a kid. This is the youngest MVP in the history of the NBA. That's a pretty damn impressive bullet point on any resume. Hogue, we love you. We'll see you for pregame. I know you're going to be at the tailgate at 8:30 on the dot.
Wrong. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. That's what I meant.
8:30 is when you are going to show up late.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock on the dot.
Herb Howard said he's going to be there by 7:30 a.m. So you two,
Putting down.
you three,
Putting
need
down.
to be
Cool, I
beating
hope-
Herb. Not cool.
Nope.
You need to beat Herb there.
There's a 0%
No, I
chance
don't.
for
I need
Howard.
to be there at 8, which is what I've agreed to, and I will be there at 8.
Herb's gonna
Don't
be
care
putting
about
down
anyone else.
rose petals for Crystal. All right. Bye, Adam.
Bye.
See you. All right.
Go take your stupid takes. Go down the road with them.
You said that as
Look
he
at
goes off.
he's
As he
still
goes
on
off,
the air.
he's-
Look at
he's
him. He's still
listening.
there. Don't give me that face,
That was the
Hoagie.
dumbest thing anyone's ever said on the show.
That's saying something. All right.
Rams.
Rams. Let me just give you my 60 seconds on the Rams. All right. The Rams lost by 31 points in week 2. They were down 10 last week. They came back in the fourth quarter. But they've got a banged up O-line. They've got no Cooper Kupp. They've got no Puka Nacua. Tutu Atwell's a good player, but he's not, he ain't that, and that's their best wide receiver. They allowed Brock Purdy to throw 3 touchdown passes last week, 292 yards. He's done that plenty, but he had a nice, comfortable day. It should be a nice day for Caleb. They're allowing 248.7 passing yards. That's the 4th worst in the NFL. They're allowing 177 rushing yards. That's the 3rd worst in the NFL. They're allowing 30 points a night, which is the 2nd worst. They don't get to the quarterback. 4 sacks on the year. They had 1 last week. Now, it was a strip sack, caused a turnover, the whole thing. The Arizona Cardinals, when they played the Rams, most points they've scored all year. The Detroit Lions, when they play the Rams, most points they've scored all year. The San Francisco 49ers, 2nd most points they've scored all year. The other one was against the Giants. Bears got to win this game. This is a very winnable game. I get the McVay nervousness. I get the Stafford nervousness. You got to beat the Rams on Sunday.
Yeah, and just watching that 49ers-Rams game real quick, you guys, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to attack the middle of the field, just seeing what the 49ers were able to do, and doing so from under center play-action runs. We saw Caleb Williams hit Rome Odunze in a big play in the middle of the field. I think that's going to be the recipe for success when you're looking at how to attack the Rams. The Rams defense is also surrendered league high in completions 8 for yards 271 and 5 touchdowns on deep pass attempts through the first 3 weeks of the season. Caleb and Rome connect on some deep passes in that matchup against the Colts. So I think there's going to be an opportunity to take the top off of this Rams defense. So look for that in the game plan from Shane Waldron this Sunday.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, just like last week against the Colts, who had a defense that's the worst run defense in the NFL, and the Rams now have a defense that's susceptible to giving up big plays, those defenses haven't played the Bears yet.
True.
And so for the Bears to take advantage of these defenses that are flawed, they have to execute, or else the same result will happen that happened against the Colts, which is not good enough. Almost close, but no cigar. And so I hope all the meetings they've had and Mercedes Lewis talking a big game here today and showing some leadership, I hope that translates into a cleaner operation on Sunday and more execution in the red zone.
Let me just say this, because I'm not going to do it now. But if they lose this football game, I am coming here Monday with a blazing hot take.
Oh, boy.
That I would have missed that show personally, because I'm cooking on it and I'm excited for it, and I don't want them to. I want them to win the football game. I might still do the same damn take even if they win, depending on how this thing goes. But what I'm looking forward to Sunday, more cohesion. That O-line should look better. The play calling should look better. You've had a leadership meeting. You've had open conversation. That's all great. That's all great. And they deserve a grace period to get it off the ground here. I think that's fair. I think that's logical. And I'm not saying it needs to be perfect. But a little bit of progress would be nice. That's all.
And you show results in this game against the Rams on Sunday.
I don't know about this whole crossing my leg thing either. It's a bad look for me. It's got to be more relaxed. Feeling relaxed right now.
Mercedes Lewis in the locker room talking with Josh Schrock, who put this out, asking about Shane Waldron. I think mainly just continue to be vocal about the things he sees and don't feel like he can't point guys out. From the oldest guy in the locker room, being me, to the youngest guy. Don't feel like you can't coach us. I want to be coached. I want to be great. So that's It's, he's talking a big game, and at the end he finishes it. It's a collaborative effort. This is not Pop Warner. We work together side by side to get things done. That's what my message was.
He's giving you a license of trust and freedom, and go out and do it, which is the same thing that I'm giving you. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Not that you need it from me. I'm talking
super chats.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Greg.
Quick super chats right here.
Gritty, $10. I'll never point the finger at players because it starts right here at all times. Hightower, wow, he sounded like a great interim head coaching candidate. Hey, you never know, Gritty.
And we have GarbageMan_Steve999, and he said, watch every episode religiously. You guys get me through the week all year long. If offense isn't good this Sunday, how soon do you think we will lose a locker room? I don't think that's going to be a question. It hasn't happened through the first 2 years, but especially with a rookie quarterback, I don't think they lose a locker room at this point. Then we have the _Giddies, $5 super chat. If the Bears lose Sunday, my prediction is Braggs will officially hop back on the Fire Flus wagon. We'll see if that happens.
I'm holding serve on what I said. Be patient. See this process through. We can disagree with the decision of keeping Eberflus, but at the end of the day, he's here. Now we got to see this thing through. Briggs and Brown show coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Central. Make sure you tune in for that. It was a really, really fun episode we recorded earlier this morning.
Can't wait to watch that tonight. Thank you to Lou Canellis for being in studio. That was a treat for all of us. Thank you to Adam Hogue. No, not thank you, but I guess thank you. Way to go, Hogue. You were phenomenal out at Halas Hall. Good stuff. Nick, great to have you in studio. Steven, great job producing. Outstanding job by you, Pizzatola. Great show, except Carm. Thank you, Pizzatola. We'll see you Sunday at the tailgate. Come on out. It's going to be
fun.
The weather's going to turn. So come now. I want you to come later too, but Sunday is going to be an easy one for you, so come on out. $10 on your way out. Get your tailgate tickets now. See you all on Sunday. Love you guys. Bear down. Herb and Chris at the tailgate at 7:30. This is amazing.
What's happening?
We'll see you there.
We all silly like the mayor.